I'm David, and this is Forgotten Coast Fishing. We're on board my Grady White Gulfstream 232 today, and I don't have a trolling motor on this boat, so I have to rely on the anchor to hold us still. So I'm going to show you today what I do to get positioned on top of a reef with an anchor. All right, so we're coming up on our spot. I've kind of just named a spot test here, and I'm going to come up pretty slowly. You can see we're about 240 feet from the reef, and I'm going to start slowing down, so hopefully when we get to this spot we'll be completely stopped. All right, so we're coming up on our spot 30 feet away, and I'm going to go ahead and take it out of gear, kind of pop it in reverse just for a second to stop us. Then I'm going to turn these engines off, and I'm actually going to raise the engines. And the reason I turn off the engines and raise them is because I want this boat to get a good drift with the wind and the current. And I think sometimes with the engines down, it makes your bow go forward and kind of steers you a little bit, and I'm not sure you get the most accurate drift. So what we're going to do is we're going to just watch our trail and see which way we drift, giving it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes, just until you get to that point where you feel like this boat is kind of maintaining a good drift. You can obviously tell we've got the wind coming this way. You can see these swells coming this way, and that's usually kind of how your boat's going to drift. But sometimes if the current's stronger, it'll kind of fight against the wind. So you always kind of want to do this test run just to see how your boat's going to drift. And since we've got these engines up, it's not going to drag the boat, and your boat's going to eventually kind of come broadside to these waves. All right, and coming back to our GPS here, you can see this is where we stopped on our spot here, and we carried our forward momentum a little bit right here, but then we got to a drift in this area right here. So we're drifting in this manner right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pan out a little bit. We want to get to this spot here, so I'm going to kind of eyeball this direction right here on the opposite side of the reef. So it kind of looks like we're going just almost straight up to the left a little bit. So I'm going to kind of go just about right there. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go to that spot, and this is where we're going to put our anchor. Now we're also going to kind of make sure we're a far enough distance away from this reef just to give us enough scope on our line to make sure that anchor holds. And we'll kind of figure that out when we're kind of moving over there to see how far this distance is actually from the reef. And then we'll set our anchor down. All right, so we're going to lower our engines. Crank our engines. And we know by the waves and the way we're drifting that the reef is this way. So we're just going to go ahead and head that way. Okay, and so what I like to do, here's our spot. I like to try to go to that spot and then travel to our anchor spot from the reef, so that when we back up, we're going to kind of back up into the reef. So make a note, we're 233 feet from our mark. So what I'm going to do, since we're in about 100 feet of water, I'm going to try to put out about 3 times as much line. So I'm going to go about 70 to 100 feet past this mark, since we were only at 230 when we were on top of the reef. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and start lowering my anchor. Going to kind of throw it in reverse just to stop us for a second. And once I've stopped and kind of started to move back just a little bit, going to go ahead and turn off our engines again and raise them. All right, so now I'm going to go back to our mark, and I'm going to go to that so we can kind of see which way we're going. So we're starting to head towards it already. All right, so I'm just lowering the anchor, just kind of watching our distance to our reef. And you can see we're kind of swinging back and forth a little bit just because it's so rough today. But you can see in general, we're going right to our reef. This was our anchor spot right here. And we're following that line right to our reef. So hopefully we can get right on top of it. I'm gonna stop the windlass at about 100 feet or so, just because we do have some slack, and there's always gonna be a little more line out there than you think. And given that 100 feet cushion will kind of help you swing around and get that line tight before you get on top of the reef. So I went ahead and tied my rope down to the cleat up there because I stopped about 30 feet in front of the reef. And the reason I did that is because we have this current wind going that way. I want our lines to kind of drift in towards the reef. So I can always kind of back it off a little bit if I want to get close. But see, I made it to 30 feet from our reef, and we drifted from up here. This is our anchor spot, and see how we drifted all the way down, pretty much in line with that test drift. And you can see we're kind of starting to swing back and forth right here. So I think we got into a good spot. So I hope this helps you when you're out there anchoring your boat. I've tried different techniques and methods, but I kind of settled on this as this seems to have the most accuracy. But if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss my future videos. So until next time, hope to see you on another episode of Forgotten Coast Fishing.